your calling is in service of other people.
When you speak from calling, people don't just hear information, they receive impartation.
Passion can fade, but your calling is what really sustains you.
The alignment that you're looking for, it actually is a byproduct of operating out of your calling.
When you participate, that's when grace comes, and that's when courage rises up within you.
When Jordan and I were brainstorming this season, we realized that we were in a totally different season of our life. And that's why, we went from calling you out and calling you higher to now we're calling you to your roots. And part of that is because we're actively walking that out in our own journey right now. And so we've been asking these bigger questions lately. And I'm sure that you can relate. I think that I've seen this common theme across the industry lately where we're just kind of asking the bigger questions. We're done with the monotony of I'm just gonna post, I'm gonna be the authority, I'm gonna stay consistent, I'm gonna do this, this, and this. And we're kind of feeling all right, something's off. And so we're what's off? What do I actually want to be doing? What am I actually meant to be doing? And one of the bigger questions that we have personally been asking ourselves and that we really want to pose to you today is, what is the work that you feel called to do? Not necessarily, how are you planning to hit your sales goals this quarter? Or what are you launching this year? Or what's even your vision for your business? But what's the work that you feel called to do on this planet? The larger work, the larger theme, the larger pull that you're feeling drawn towards. And I think what often happens, let's be real, entrepreneurship is not the easy path. It often feels like this uphill battle. We're striving and sometimes pushing, and we're showing up to show up because you have to. You're responsible to move the business, and there's a weight that comes with that. But sometimes it can just feel like you're battling resistance at every turn. And what that leads to is we end up in this state where we're just striving in our business all the time. And we're operating from this survival mode every single day. And so we don't even have the space or the thought to ask these bigger questions. You know what I mean? We're just showing up, we're doing the thing, we're surviving. And we're thinking about where's our next sale coming from? What's the content that I need to create? What's the plan for the next year? And all of those things are important. And those are things that we both do. You have to have those things. You have to have these short-term goals and mile markers along the way. Otherwise, you will get off the path. But we're often thinking so short-term, and these kind of short-term goals end up becoming a distraction from the larger work that we're meant to be doing, from the actual calling that we have on our life. But a lot of times what I think is that the breakthrough that we're looking for, the alignment that you're looking for, it actually is a byproduct of operating out of your calling. So if you're off your path, or if you're in part of the work that you're meant to be doing, but you're kind of, again, we're more so in that survival state. It's we're walking around like zombies. We're not really tuned in and dialed into the larger purpose behind it all, the work that we're called to do. You're going to feel like something is off. And the reality is that you have been called to do a specific thing on this planet. And I think sometimes we think that that is our business. But to me, that's a myth. Our business isn't the end all be all. Our business isn't the destination. Our business is a vehicle for us to live out our purpose, for us to embody our calling. It isn't the purpose, the destination. It's a vehicle, it's a vessel. And so today we want to have a larger conversation about what's the work that you're actually called to do, because there's so much alignment that will come from that. There's also so much, I believe, success that will come from that, because when you are operating in your calling, success follows you. It's inevitable, because the work you're doing is so potent, it's so deep, it's so transformational. It's a whole other level than here's how to do this. There's more meat to it. There's a natural, inevitable grace to it. So that's the question we want to pose to you right out the gate today.
Yeah, I love that, the way you put that about the business being a vehicle for your greater purpose, because there's the work you do in your business, but then there's the work beneath that, under the surface, that maybe you don't market yourself as doing this certain thing, but it's sort of this undercurrent, something that's happening under the surface that maybe you're like not even aware of. Just to give like a more tangible example of that, like, you know, Ashton is like a strategist and she's helping people with strategy in their businesses, but there's like deeper things going on behind the curtains, things that people may not even be aware of that are happening, like inner transformation and things like that. It's like, we're not marketing ourselves that like that's what we do. We transform you, but like it's just that deeper work that happens because she's operating out of her calling and she's operating out of her expertise, and it naturally, organically sort of creates this transformation that's happening under the surface. And one of the biggest things that I want you to really think about when it comes to this conversation, because it can seem so big and daunting, like, well, what is my calling? Like, do I know what it is that I'm actually doing? Just to make it a little more tangible, I want you to think about, what is it that you feel called to do that might not just benefit you, but that will benefit others? Like, what do you want and need to do that will be of service to other people? I think that is the central thing that I really want you to think about, is like, how are you contributing something to someone else's life? Like the people that you're working with and supporting, how are you actually supporting them? How are you contributing to their life? Because I believe your calling is in service of other people. Like it serves you because it lights you up. Like you're called to do something for a reason. Your calling is yours for a reason. So it lights you up. And I do think I agree with what you just said about it, like brings this organic like success as well. Like it's inevitable when you're operating out of your calling, but it also ultimately is in service to others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's not just something that you're passionate about. There's a conviction there. There's a responsibility there. It's almost like that thing inside of you that might feel scary, but you can't escape it. And it's this deeper conviction. And I love that distinction that your calling isn't necessarily something that just benefits you. It really is for other people. It's how you contribute. It's perhaps the transformation that others experience because of your presence. And these are going to be larger themes that guide you and the work that you're doing in your business. So you might be a social media manager, let's say, but your calling likely isn't to be a social media manager. There's going to be larger themes that guide the way that you operate in your business, the way that you interact with your clients, the way that you market yourself, the message that you share, the touch points that you have behind the curtains. And I know for myself and Jordan, we were raised in a family where there are definitely these larger themes I think that we're naturally passionate about, and I think that we're even called to do because of the way that we were raised, or things that were passed down to us through our family line. And like helping women build wealth is one of those things for me. You know, I obviously help people grow their business and yes, make more money, but it's this larger concept of like, how do I show up to help women create more wealth that doesn't just help them take an extra vacation, but actually helps them build generational wealth. I love to help people think so much bigger about why they're here and what they're doing, the generational impact of what actions you're taking today, the way that you're growing, the way that you're becoming right now. Those are the bigger conversations that I like to have. Those are bigger themes that aren't often at the forefront of our marketing, but they're central to my calling. They're central to my convictions. And so think about, like Jordan said, what is it that you feel pulled to do, that you feel convicted to do, that you want to contribute to the world? And I think, like you said, calling can feel like this big thing. It's like, what do you mean? Like, what am I called to do? That's such a big thing. It's like when you're going to college and people are like, what do you want to do for your life? I remember I hated when people ask me that question. I don't know. And maybe too, your calling isn't going to be crystal clear. You might have these themes that are highlighted to you, but it's probably more than likely going to be fully revealed as you continue to partner with it and you continue to participate in it. So you don't have to have full understanding, but you do have to follow that pull and that conviction. and find ways to embody it now. But when your calling is guiding everything that you're doing in your business, there's so much more purpose there. There's so much more fulfillment there. And if we're missing this, your business is going to feel off. You're going to feel so misaligned. You're going to feel like significance is lacking. It's going to leave you with a hollow feeling because you're going through the motions, but you aren't showing up in a way to support your convictions and your callings. There's a different presence that comes with that.
Yeah, I like the way you put that, saying that it can be something that can kind of like scare you. And a distinction I want to make here is that it's not necessarily what you even like want to do or the way that you want to show up, like the things that you're passionate about. Like, I think the things you're passionate about are the vehicle for the deeper work that you're meant to be doing. So things that you're passionate about maybe doesn't last forever. Like, passion can fade, but your calling, I think, is what really sustains you in the long run. If you're really like firm on that and you just keep returning to that. Like you just said, you might not feel certain on it, like 100%, like this is my calling. I think it can kind of like slightly shift and maybe like sway a little bit, but it's like, just keep returning to that deeper question. Keep like asking yourself, like, what am I called to do? Is this in alignment with my calling? And I think you just kind of figure it out as you live it out. You might feel called to do something that kind of feels a little daunting to you. Like, I just was going to share like a personal experience for me. I've always felt like more of a writer. I love to write. I've always been drawn to that sort of like medium of creativity. And I always excelled in writing when I was in school. Like, English classes was like super easy for me. I never like faltered in that setting. I was always really like strong in that area. But recently, like, I don't know, the past few years even, I've felt like I've been thrown into the fire a little bit when it comes to speaking. Like, with Ashton and working at the Awakening, like, she has asked me, to step into more of, like, years ago, this is like a while ago, but she asked me to like step into more of a role of like sharing on Instagram stories, which like sounds super simple, but like back then I was like so nervous to do that and like speak in front of people who were going to see it. And then I kind of stepped more into our membership and was coaching a little bit more in there. And we started the podcast together. And it's like, we've always like conversed together, but I think speaking in this setting, it just felt a little bit different for me. And then several months ago now, I just felt this like tug on the inside of me that was like, speak, like, you're meant to speak. And I don't even know what that means, but I just kind of like felt it in this moment of quiet with God. And I was like, oh, like that's kind of scary because I am so much more comfortable with writing. And I've even seen this show up recently where I'm so comfortable with like texting people. It's always been more of an uncomfortable thing for me to like call people, talk on the phone. I like talking in person with people, but it is a little bit more vulnerable because I don't have time to tinker with an idea. I'm on the fly. I'm speaking. Like, there's no time for me to like figure out what I'm saying. Whereas in writing, I can tinker with something for like a while so that I can say it like perfectly. So that's just something that's shown up for me recently that I feel so like compelled to do. But it does kind of like scare me a little bit because it feels a little bit outside of my comfort zone. But I believe that it's actually supposed to be in my comfort zone. And I think that the more I face the discomfort of it, the more comfortable I'll get with it. Like, the more I'm willing to press on and just speak even when I'm scared, like, it sort of gives me more and more confidence to just keep doing it. So yeah.
Your calling may not be comfortable. We talk a lot about how we all have these unique strengths and gifts and things that just come naturally to us. But I think that that's the unique thing about your calling, is that it may not be something that originally comes easily to you. It might actually be quite uncomfortable. And that's where you do have to press in. And like Jordan was saying, that comfort can be developed and accessed over time. And our mentor shared this example where when you start playing an instrument, you don't know the mechanics of that instrument. But the longer that you play, the more you learn about the instrument, the more proficient you become. And then you have that base level of knowledge that then you can use to then play, and you're more proficient in it, and you can go in different directions. And that's the way that I view speaking. Like or anything else, quite frankly. It's a new skill set that you do have to develop, and there is this inevitable harmony and flow and success that can come when you operate in that area, but it might not come easily. It might not feel comfortable at first, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't press into it. And I think that's a beautiful example because it shows and displays that conviction that you feel inside of you, that pull that you feel inside of you towards something. And yet you're over here like, that doesn't come naturally to me. I'd rather just sit and write and tinker, and that's what I love to do. But it's something that you inevitably feel this pull towards. Yeah. And I think too, it's just funny how that came about, because we weren't originally thinking that you would be plugged into the business in all of these different arenas. But it's like, as we continue to grow and expand in different ways and introduce new projects and mediums like the podcast, we brought you on as a guest, and then we discovered this like synergy that we have when we speak together. And we also discovered your ability to speak. And we were like, this is something that we need to do. So that's another example that things may unfold in time as you press into them. Like, you may not be listening to this today and have this full epiphany of this is what I'm called to do and exactly how it's going to pan out. It's likely not going to happen that way. But I just think that we're really trying to hit home on different things that you can notice that are being highlighted to you, that convict you, that compel you, that feel like the larger work and purpose behind the work that you're doing in your business. Mm-hmm. And that's another big thing we want to hit home on today, is like, your business is just a part of the picture. We have to disrupt this idea that your business is the destination, it's the end all be all, it is everything. That leads to burnout. It also leads you to live such a fraction of your purpose and your life, because your business is just one entity. We have to get connected to the larger calling that's guiding that. Who knows? You might be someone that runs multiple businesses, or you might be someone that shows up in different facets and areas of your life, and your business is just one of them. So we can't stay in this small-minded perspective that like your business is everything. It's just a medium. It's just a tool. It's just a vehicle.
Yeah. And like I said before, your calling is for other people. And just going back to that example of speaking, like with me, I don't even necessarily know how that will benefit people down the road, or like what exactly that looks like. But I just know that I feel that conviction to speak, and that I just believe that it's going to like help and serve people. Like, I think it helps and serves people in our community, but I think it's even, beyond that. It's like in everyday interactions, I feel more courage than I did before to just like speak to people, like on a very like human level, just speaking to strangers. Like, I didn't really ever feel comfortable doing that. Like, just people at the store. Like, I'm not talking about anything crazy or any in-depth conversations. I'm just like talking about normal interactions with people who like work at a grocery store or something. Like, I used to be so scared to even like look people in the eye or like say hello, because I was just like, I'm just not going to. I'm just going to avoid that and like, go about my day. But I just feel like I don't know the bigger picture of like how that will benefit other people, but I just am choosing to like go with it. And because I feel the conviction and the like draw to it, I'm like, I'm just doing it, even if I'm kind of scared or nervous to do it. And I just know and believe that it's going to benefit people other than me down the road and in the present. And I think that is a big reason why I'm like feeling so much more willing to do it, because I'm like, this isn't about me. This is about something bigger than me. And I don't even really know what that means yet, but I'm just rolling with it. So if you feel called to do something that kind of scares you a little bit, like maybe you're like me and you would rather hide behind the scenes, but you feel like maybe you're supposed to be like a mouthpiece and maybe you're supposed to speak, then like maybe you should explore that. And maybe it will scare you a little bit, but embrace that discomfort, because the more you do, the better you get at like facing it head on, the more comfortable and confident you will get.
It's so true. I remember when you got your driver's license and we would go get takeout, we would go through the drive-through and you were so anxious to just order food at the drive-thru.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that.
So you would make me do it.
Yeah, and that didn't last forever, but there was a time where I would not even want to go through the drive-thru. I didn't want to like communicate with other people like at all, because I was just so scared. And when I was younger, I didn't ever want to make phone calls, even to like family members, because I was like, I'd rather just see them in person or like write them a letter. Like, I don't want to talk to someone on the phone. I don't like, it just felt so outside of my comfort zone. And for years and years, I just didn't want to speak. And now I feel like, now that I'm like embracing it more and just doing it more, even on a small scale, like I feel like way more courageous in that. And like, I just want to, talk to people and like strike up small, even if it's small conversations with people that I don't really know. Cause I'm just, I don't know. I just feel like I'm supposed to do it. So
yeah. And you never would have anticipated that. You never would have guessed that you would be the person that's literally podcasting, that's literally speaking to a community, that shows up to do trainings with me. And I really do think this is just the beginning. But, I think that leads into this conversation about, well, how do you know what it looks like when you're operating in your calling? And one of the things that will be evident is that there is simply a grace for it. And I love tying that into this example and conversation, because if little like 15, 16-year-old Jordan would see you now, she would be in disbelief, because there was such fear and almost like this debilitation around speaking to people, around being seen. And there has somehow been a grace for you to grow into this skill set that you're still growing into. And you have now come around to where you're bought into it and you're submitted to it, because there's a grace there. And it may not mean that it's going to be perfect, that you're always going to be perfect at it, that it's going to come without effort. But there is an inevitable grace there, and it may be a process, but there will be things about it that you just can't explain. Like, we can't explain how you're here speaking on a podcast when you couldn't even speak to someone in the drive-thru.
And I think too, like, the more that I've done it, the better I get. Every time you practice something, you get better at it. But I also think that when I just start speaking, sometimes I like have an idea of what I want to say, but when I start speaking, I'm like, oh, like I get clarity almost as I start speaking sometimes. Like, I might have the idea for what I'm going for, but I don't have the words yet. But it's like a leap of faith. It's like if I just step out in faith and like speak, then like the grace kind of comes, like, and the words come. And like, I'll just say, like, the last episode that we did, the altar of approval, that felt like one of the best episodes for me, just because I feel like I've had this recent sort of like awakening, for lack of better words, that like, I feel like I am coming back to myself, or I'm really embracing that pull and that call to speak more. And I just felt like so good about it, because when I did speak, I felt like that grace kind of came, and it just felt good. So like, it might not feel good at first. And I will say the process of learning how to be more courageous with the speaking has happened very slowly over time. Like, compared to even when I started working with Ashton, like several years ago now, like I have had to go through different phases of like growth to get here. And I know I have more, further to go. And like you said, it's like, it's not for lack of effort. Like, you still have to put effort into it. And like, I still am like learning actively how to speak better, but just embrace that call and just take that leap of faith. And then the grace kind of comes like with it.
Yeah. Discomfort leads to comfort. And I think that's so important to remember when you're showing up for something that you're practically having like blind faith in. You're probably going to be questioning yourself. You're probably going to be like, what the crap am I doing? Who am I to do this? That's just all of that self-doubt and like negative self-talk that creeps in. But you have to be willing to be uncomfortable in any area before you can get comfortable there. Speaking is a great example, but showing up online, serving clients, oh my goodness. I have been going through old trainings to try and improve our client experience for our membership. And I found some of my first trainings that I ever did, and the delivery, the communication, the articulation is like a negative 300. My voice sounds so different. I always spoke, hi, up here in this register, and I was holding my breath and I was just so nervous, but I was showing up. Hey guys, today we're going to talk about this. I was so nervous and fearful and holding my breath the whole time. That was uncomfortable. That was awkward. And now we're here. Okay. Praise God. Hallelujah that we're here. We're through that. It's like going through your teenage years and then you're like, you get past them and you're like, whew.
Yeah.
That was rough. But you have to be willing to be uncomfortable to get comfortable, even in something that you're graced to do, even in something that you're gifted in. There's always going to be an element that requires your presence, your participation. It's not all just going to magically fall into place. So all that said, this grace component, it's both. You have to apply effort, but there is just this inexplainable thing that will happen. Like doors will open, you will find this flow, success will follow. There's just a grace on it. So that's one of the elements here. But another component is this conversation of responsibility. When you're called to do something, there is often a weight with it. It can feel like a burden because a conviction, we didn't pull the definition, but I'm willing to bet a conviction isn't just like I am so excited and passionate about this. A conviction is like, I have to do this. Like, I better do this. Like, I must do this. There's a responsibility that comes with it. It can feel weighty. It can feel heavy, not always fun. And that's a conversation that we have to be willing to have in our industry, in this online space that wants to perpetuate this idea that you can build a business that always feels amazing. No, you can't. I'm sorry. Baby, I'm sorry. You can't have a business that always feels amazing. You can build a business that has roots of like sustainability, that fits into your lifestyle, that allows you to have an element of space so that it doesn't consume you. Absolutely. But your business is not always going to feel amazing. And if your business is a vehicle to your calling, it's going to come with a responsibility, with a conviction, and sometimes a heaviness. Kind of like with this moment that Jordan has had. When she heard speak, she didn't say, oh yes, I love this. This is amazing. She said, what?
What? No, literally. I was kind of like, oh, okay. I see you. I see it. But I was like, okay, what does that mean? And how do I do that? And what does that mean for me? What does that look like? Like, am I speaking on stages? Because I don't know about that. Am I just speaking more on the podcast? Yeah, sure. Like, I didn't even know what that meant, but I think the more I've been living it out, the more clarity that has come sort of like instinctively. Like, I haven't even had to search for more clarity. I think the more that I just have followed that call, it's like, okay, I know in this moment when I am like standing in front of this like cashier, I feel like I'm compelled to talk to this person. Like, even on just like a chill level, I'm not trying to like do anything crazy, but I'm like, I feel like that these are my little tests of like, okay, I have to talk to this person because I just feel like I need to. And I'm like training myself like right now to like put myself out there, even in small ways. And just, yeah, I don't know, before I always would like just silence myself because I felt like I didn't know how to articulate anything. Like I would have a thought of like, I want to say this, but I don't even know how to start. So I just would be quiet. Like even in settings with normal people, like my family, I would have the urge to contribute to a conversation or say something, and I would just not because I felt like I didn't know where to start, what to say, how to say it. So now it's just, I feel like I'm just putting myself out there a little bit more in those small ways and being willing to like kind of fumble around a little bit as I'm figuring it out. But I loved the word you said a second ago about participation because I feel like that is the biggest thing. It's like you have to be willing to participate with your calling. And when you participate, that's when grace comes. And that's when that courage rises up within you. And yeah, I feel like now if I have a thought to say something, even if I don't know how to articulate it, I just start speaking because I'm like, when I start speaking, I'm gonna figure it out. Like I'm gonna get somewhere, even if it takes a second for me to get there. I'll figure it out. The grace will come. And it's almost just that trusting of like, I've been given this responsibility. I have been given this as my duty. And I'm just trusting that like when I do it, that grace will follow and I'll be okay. You know, like it's not the end of the world. And just, yeah, really surrendering and trusting to it.
Oh my God, that was so good, bro. I can't even articulate anything that you just said, like to go back to a point. Just like rewind and then listen again and then come back to this point. No, that was so, so good. It requires your participation. Like that grace isn't going to just magically kick in. And maybe it will at a level or to a level. But I believe that there's even a higher level that you're meant to operate in your calling. One that requires your participation. One that requires your blind faith. Mm-hmm. One that requires your trust, submission, and obedience. If you are not willing to carry the responsibility of speaking to the cashier, how are you going to speak to the person on the stage or in the podcast or wherever? Yeah.
Obedience. That's such a good word. Sorry, I had to snap at it because I'm like, yes, obey the call, like listen to the call and then just go forth and do it. And like the courage will come and you'll feel more confident in it.
Yeah, the courage may not be there when you get going. I look back at videos of myself and I'm like, I mean, I had a little bit of courage, but I was so nervous and I was not doing well. Okay.
I was not doing
I'm so
well.
surprised that anybody came to these sessions and these lives that I did. People came and people found value. That's what I find to be crazy. Even at what I see to be such a low level of delivery and facilitation that I want to be so much better because now I've grown, people still found value. And that's the other thing. You can always play at, level 2 in your calling and bring some extent of value, but how much value do you want to bring? How much do you want to contribute? How far do you want to go? How many lives do you want to impact? What transformation do you want to bring? Because we can go all the way to level 10. You have to participate at every level to grow to that point.
Amen. Amen.
But beyond that, another thing that will come up when you're operating in your calling is this potency, this depth. There's going to be this power that comes when you operate in that call, no matter what that call is. And I feel like the best way to communicate this is to kind of like reference some different figures that are very, very different in very different fields that are clearly operating in their calling. And when we were brainstorming, we thought of Joni Mitchell, Jordan's like OG homegirl, loves her queen.
OG homegirl? That's like my favorite artist ever. Yes.
Joni Mitchell, Steve Jobs, Tony Robbins. Completely different industries, big names, all operating in their God-given calling and authority in that calling that they did have to participate in. I think about Joni as a musician. She didn't just wake up one day and she's like, playing on stages and everyone's just like jaw like on the floor, like, how? Who are you? Mm. You don't just show up and operate at that level, but when you develop your skills and you partner with the call, there is this like potency. It's like this thing that pierces through. And for her, it was her music, like the lyrics, the sounds, they were like freaking revolutionary. And they still are today. Like her voice like continues to live on in those songs.
Yeah. So influential in like the singer-songwriter folk kind of world. And I just know so many songwriters look up to her for the lyrics. And I find it really interesting that she kind of started out more as a painter. And I mean, I think she just has that like artist heart. Like she's a painter. She wrote a lot of incredible songs and incredible lyrics and created such interesting music that was so unique to her. And so many people like did not know how to keep up with her. I've heard stories of when she would be on tour and like trying to play these songs, and she made up her own rules with music. Like she kind of just picked up the guitar and I believe she learned some of the fundamentals, but she made up her own rules. And sometimes the other like band members that were playing with her were like, okay, we need to figure out how to like, what key are you in? And like, what are you doing? And like, cause she just went with it. She just like was so playful in that medium. And yeah, like no one could keep up with her, but there's just that level of power in her lyrics. But I just believe that it was that like, she just was gifted. And I don't even know if she realized it, but like, she's just gifted with songwriting. Like these lyrics just poured out of her that are like insane and like so poetic and so potent. I will listen to a Joni Mitchell song and just be so floored at like the level of intrigue and power in it that like I don't get anywhere else. And I think it's just that combination of, she was using her unique gifting, and yes, she sharpened her skills, but she just like followed that call to like create music. Like she just kind of found herself doing it one day and was like, I'm just going to write songs. Like, let's go for it. And she didn't know where that would like take her, but she is one of the biggest names in like in that lane of music because she just decided to like go for it and do it.
How cool too that she started as a painter and then she ended up being a songwriter. It is that, artist's heart at the center, but I think that just communicates that you may start in one area when you're following what lights you up, when you're following what compels you, and end up closer and closer to where you're meant to be. And just that bringing that playful energy, even like what you were talking about earlier, like I'm just going to start speaking and see what happens and trust the process. And I'm just kind of going to play with it. Like I'm just going to show up, play with it. And that's where you start to grow and excel. I even think about someone like a Tony Robbins, whether you like him, love him, hate him. He's a big name for a big reason. He's been in the industry for so long and people rave about his events and the level of change and transformation and power that they experience when they go to his events. He is absolutely another example of somebody who's operating in his calling, who's been doing that for so long. But something that was really highlighted to us when we were preparing for this episode is that when you speak from calling, people don't just hear information, they receive impartation. It's not just about passing along head knowledge, but it's about deeply transforming someone simply by them being in your presence. I think about Joni. She wasn't teaching from the stage, but do you know how influential she has been for other musicians? She set a whole new standard for music, for writing, that has lived on. The people around her that were trying to keep up with her, I am positive, received some level of impartation simply by just being in her presence. I think it's also helpful to share, what does impartation actually mean? Impartation is the transfer of something intangible, like wisdom, strength, faith, creativity, from one person to another through presence, words, or touch. People don't just walk away knowing more, they walk away being more. Now imagine if your business, your work, was centered around your calling. If you're doing that, operating in that effectively, you aren't just going to be giving people information, you are going to be giving people impartation. The level of change and transformation with them not just knowing more, but being more, having new beliefs, having a greater perspective, thinking entirely differently. That is how you create real change in people that creates a ripple effect of positive impact. And that's really, to me, the core of this entire conversation and why we want to talk about this in a business setting. Because the longer that you keep showing up to check off the boxes and to just be the social media manager or the coach, and we're going to do it like everyone is in the industry, and we're not operating from your calling, you will be able to have some level of impact, but will never be as deep as it could be. It will never be as big as it could be.
I think sometimes we think that operating out of your calling is like some elusive thing that's like way down the line, like way into the future. Like a Tony Robbins being on stage and speaking and putting on these events, and he's like more mature in his gifting and he's been following this call for like a while now. I feel like we think that it's just this futuristic thing, but it's something that we can live out in the present. And I think I'm just going to keep using myself as an example here with speaking. Like, I am testing the waters with that right now in whatever way I feel like I can, and trying to just put myself out there, even in small situations. So the things that you are feeling really called to do, or maybe it's just one thing right now that you're feeling really drawn to, maybe you even know right now as you're listening to this that there is something that's being highlighted to you that's like, I need to do this thing, but I'm scared. Start operating out of that right now. You can do it today. You just have to start moving out in that faith and exercising your muscles right now. That's the only way you're going to grow in this thing. That's the only way that I will grow in my speaking abilities, is if I speak. And that's even in small interactions with like a grocery store clerk. Like, it doesn't have to be at a crazy level yet, but this stage right now, as you are getting a little bit more clear on what it is that your calling is, this stage is like a preparation phase. But I don't want you to think of it as like, this is the preparation phase and then eventually I'll get to where I need to be. I believe that preparation is something that is ever unfolding. We are always being prepared for different levels of things. Like right now, I'm being prepared in this current season of my life to speak better, to articulate better, to speak with more confidence. And then eventually I'm going to level up. And then eventually I'm going to level up again. So the preparation phase, there's like an ever unfolding amount of like preparation phases throughout your life. So I don't want you to get so bogged down on like, I'm just in the preparation phase and then eventually I'll get there. We have to accept right here, right now, preparation is continually happening in our lives. Like, we're always just being prepared for the next level. But if you're starting out on a lower level right now, that's great. You got to just apply yourself right now to that calling. And then you'll just keep leveling up. You'll keep gaining more confidence in it. And when you move through the discomfort, you'll get more comfortable with it. And you'll just be more and more courageous at every single level.
It's so true. I feel like if you're avoiding living your calling now, you're avoiding responsibility. You're avoiding obedience. You're avoiding discomfort under the guise of, I will get there one day in the future. But actually, your calling requires preparation for you to continue to level up. And like we were talking about earlier, there's just these different levels that are going to be unlocked as you go. You might be at level 0, level 1, but you are still participating. You are still submitting. You are still in obedience to the call. And there's so much reward that comes with that. There's so much growth that comes with that. You can't be unwilling to show up at level 1 and expect to reach level 10. It's just not how it works. You don't get to skip all of those levels. Your grace on your call may get you to level 3, level 4, level 5. But if you want to make it all the way, your submission, your obedience is going to be required.
And if your calling is meant to serve other people, think of how much deeper and better you can serve people. The better you get, the more proficient you become in your calling. That's going to allow you to go way deeper with people, to serve them at an unprecedented level that you might not be able to serve them at right now. That's one of the biggest things for me, why I want to operate in my calling right now as much as I can, because like I want to help people at an even deeper level. And that's going to require more from me. It's going to require me to obey and to follow this thing and to just keep being courageous in it. And then over time, I just believe that I'm going to have deeper impact with people, because ultimately I really do believe your calling is meant to serve and support and actually provide help for others. So let that be something that like lights you up as well and encourages you to like really embrace this. The thing that is kind of maybe scaring you or is daunting to you, like imagine if you just face it head on and you keep working on it, how much more you'll be able to serve people with that calling on your life.
Yeah, it's like you don't get to wait until you're ready. You have to partner with it now. And the longer you keep waiting, the more the work is going to be prolonged, the more people won't be impacted, supported, served by the call in your life. There is certainly going to be someone else that could support or transform in a similar way, but there's only one person that can serve on this earth in the exact way that you are meant to in this time, in this season. So you don't get to wait. Stop waiting on the sidelines. Stop saying one day or when I have time or when I get to this level. Let's be willing to have this deeper conversation. Let's be willing to show up and honor the work that we're actually meant to be doing, to be obedient to it. These are things that are harder to act out than they are to say out loud. You know, obedience and submission to the call is beautiful to say, but it's a whole other thing to live out. Like Jordan hasn't felt like fine and dandy and amazing every time that she's shown up to speak. And neither have I. Like I said, very humbly in this episode, I have definitely been at negative level before, okay? We all start at the bottom and we just keep growing and we just keep partnering and we just keep being courageous as we grow. We don't get to wait though. Take action now, partner with it now, partner with the moments and the opportunities that you have to live the call now. Whether you're speaking to the person at the grocery store, or you're going live on Instagram, or whatever it is for you. Your calling is something that you've been graced to do, but it requires your participation. It requires your effort. It requires your partnership. So that's our encouragement to you today, to participate. Take small steps, show up in small ways, because those are going to compound over time. We hope that this conversation blessed you, served you, supported you, and we'll catch you in the next one.